I'm finally doing my first video, and I'm hating on something that everyone else loves. That's smart. Honestly though, I know this isn't the smartest thing to start with, but this has been bothering me for a long time. I've got to get this thing off my chest. Remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to lord it over everyone else's, and I'm not trying to shame anyone. First, I'll say what I do like about Party of One. Pinky's confetti cannon outfit. Pinky's cake outfit. How Pinky doesn't even flinch when Rarity spits in her face. Pinky's basket hat. Applejack's stretching neck. Rainbow drawing a watch on her hoof. Pinky's disguise. This part. This part. Pinky's cake. And of course, Pinky's character development. Not surprising that Best Pony is the best thing about the episode. Now we get into my problems with the episode. Starting with the surprise party cliché. You know, when one person thinks that nobody cares anymore, but it turns out everyone was just trying to keep the party a surprise, at the expense of their friends' feelings. This cliché needs to die. I have always hated it. I always see it coming from a mile away. The only thing that surprised me this time was that it was her birthday. I figured they were throwing a party to thank her for all her hard work. The next problem I have is with the lying. I know not everyone shares this view, but I am of the mind that lying is only acceptable if someone's life depends on it. Instead of lying, Applejack could have implored Pinky to trust her as a friend, that she had a good reason to not let her in, and that she would be able to come back later. That way, Pinky would have had at least a little less justification for being so suspicious. Next problem, the main five are being unusually stupid. Especially Twilight. Did it really not occur to her that since Pinky likes to spend time with her friends pretty much every day, that it might be a good idea to have excuses ready for everyone? Preferably ones that have some truth to them so that they're not lying. Come on, Twi! You were the winter wrap-up organizer! Compared to that, this should be easy! Before I get to the biggest problems, I want to get the moral out of the way. I don't like to get too hung up on the morals of a show. I feel it encourages the idea that parents can let the TV raise their kids for them. That does not mean I'll ignore it, though. So, the moral of this episode is, you should always blindly trust those who you consider to be good friends. What could possibly go wrong? My biggest problems lie within the final act. I really feel for Pinky here. I know how Pinky feels. I too suffer from depression. I admit, out of context, it is fun seeing her go crazy. It's unfortunate that the inanimate objects are actually not completely wrong here. It pains me to have to say this about my second favorite pony, but Rainbow is horrible in this episode. I know she was pretty insensitive back in Season 1, but she suffers no consequences, nor does she apologize. None of them do, even though the emotional distress they've caused Pinky is obvious. I could believe Rainbow and Fluttershy not noticing, but Rarity picked up on Rainbow's stage fright, Applejack is the most down-to-earth of the group, and I find it hard to believe that Twilight has never read at least a few psychology books in her lifetime of reading. Then Pinky says this. How could I have ever doubted you? And Twilight says this. It's okay, Pinky. It could have happened to any of us. And this. Always expect the best from your friends, and never assume the worst. Rest assured that a good friend always has your best interests at heart. The episode is saying that Pinky is entirely in the wrong here, and her friends are not the least bit guilty. Pinky did hear them say some rather incriminating things. Given what she did know, she had every right to be suspicious. Did she come to her conclusion a little too quickly? Yes, but her suspicions were not unfounded. She did not just jump to it. Even worse, Rainbow says this: "I'm just glad I haven't been replaced by a bucket of turnips." Then Twilight says, "Huh?" And Rainbow responds with, "You don't want to know." No, Rainbow, they should want to know. Nobody knows about her depression, despite it being so obvious in this scene. Obviously, at the end, we're supposed to feel that she's not alone, that her friends are there for her. But to me, it feels like she's still alone. When my depression is at its worst, the love and support of my family and friends is the only thing that keeps me sane. If I didn't have them, I don't know if I would still be here today. Heck, Drew Wario, aka Justin Carmichael, also had people who knew and cared about his depression, and he still ended up taking his own life. Pinkie has no one. She's clearly not going to diagnose herself, and I think her family would visit a lot more often if they knew. I can't believe Megan McCarthy wrote this episode. I have loved every single other thing that she's written for this show. Thankfully, she redeemed herself with their next episode, Lesson 0. We can only hope that if Pinkie's depression ever rears its ugly head again, the others will remember what they learned in that episode, and not be so insensitive again.